Wow, some Jamaicans are now facing damaged vehicles from fallen trees to flood waters and flying debris, all because of Hurricane Melissa. But who pays the price? This morning, we're joined by attorney at law Abel Donfoot of Able Attorneys, and he's going to help us understand how insurance coverage really works in these situations and what steps to take to protect yourself and your property. Morning.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm good.
Listen, one of the first things one of my friends said is you have to go outside and take pictures of the car before, and then started giving me a whole lesson, and I was like, we have to do all of this?
So it's recommended that you do it because what you're trying to do is to gather evidence, right? If there is a legal dispute, you want to ensure that you have sufficient evidence to assist your case or your cause, whether or not you are going to take that action in court or by way of arbitration. So arbitration is another way of resolving a dispute without the necessity of going to court, and then the factual findings of the arbiter is typically now what applies to be enforced.
I see this question says, what types of insurance coverage protect against storm-related car damage? All insurance don't protect against storm-related car damage?
No, not at all.
What?
So it depends on the type of policy that you get. You have policies that are issued which are called third-party policies under the Third-Party Risk Act, where the risk for the insured an insurer is limited to claims done by third parties. So if it's a situation where there's an accident and there is personal injury suffered by a third party, it would cover those factual scenarios. But if it is typically a situation where you're looking at, you want a holistic coverage, that is normally covered by the comprehensive policy. And comprehensive policies, some of them, depending on how they are written, cover damage by flood and hurricane damage, theft, fire. It would cover scenarios like that. So if you want absolute coverage, you should look into getting a comprehensive policy.
Let me get a little bit into the minutiae of it. So it's hurricane coverage. So I'm thinking, okay, if there's flooding, they'll say, yes, that was a hurricane. What if the pole dropped on my car?
So, well, very good question. One would have to try to argue that there was this nexus between the storm and the pole falling.
Right.
Because, you know, you have all these projectiles during the storm, whether it's somebody's roof that's flying off or a pole or a branch from a tree. Everything is, in my view, linked inextricably.
It's linked inextricably. Okay.
Right.
So I don't have to worry about somebody saying, well, no, that might not have been. How I know is not somebody fling it into the car.
Well, that's going to be the other side's argument. And then now it is going to be the court, if it goes to court, that would determine that issue.
Whether or not it was.
Right, which is very important for me to touch on because, you know, the concept of arbitration is not something that is going to be understood by the public typically, right? And you do see situations where if somebody is disgruntled with their insurer, they try to bring a suit against the insurer in court and sue them because they're not getting coverage under the policy and they want some relief from the court. And little do they know, an argument is made by the insurer to say the court has no jurisdiction because in the contract there is an arbitration clause which forces you to go that route instead of going to court, right?
What?
But one has to be very vigilant to look out for these things. Because if you are not aware of this arbitration clause, you would not be bound by it. So there was a case that was litigated in Jamaica, is UGI versus Hutchinson, where that point was raised, and the court essentially sided with the insurer to allow him to bring his case in court for breach of contract because the insurer didn't share the policy with him that invokes that arbitration clause. So these are the things you need to look out for because
sometimes you're just going in the rush a bit. You just say, let me just sign the first paper.
Exactly.
And you don't read page 20.
Exactly what you're signing.
Yes.
And you need to get, they need to share with you your policy and the terms of your contract after you have signed. So that applies not only for vehicular insurance, but also for home insurance.
Home insurance as well?
Most Jamaicans, when they take out their insurance policy, they go to a broker, they take it out, and they just get the certificate. You need to know everything that touches and surrounds this contract of insurance.
And they like to go for basic too.
Right.
Yes, and then they say, but it was insured, and then they say, well,
precisely.
To be fair, not to that level or not to, so they need to know what's happening. Okay, so the storm is over, and I emerged from my home, and then I realized, okay, so the pole took that hit that. What are the things that I shouldn't do, and what are the things that I should do?
So the things you shouldn't do is rest on your laurels. You see all of these things happening and you do nothing. What you should do is take action immediately. You report it to the insurer, which is vital, and you gather your evidence. You take your photographs, you take your pictures, you take your videos, you collect witnesses to the facts that happened. I mean, it's public knowledge that this hurricane took place, but you're still going to need witnesses to support you to say this is what happened. They saw when this thing was happening. The storm was blowing. After the storm blew, they see when it tear down the light post drop on the vehicle, mash it up. You need somebody as to fact, an eyewitness who saw what happened to assist you with your case. But gather your evidence, make your report. If it's a motor vehicle accident as well, you make a report to the police station to get your police report, and then you pay $3,000 at the tax office to get the police report to assist the case. And those are the vital steps, in my view, that
is important. Don't try to say, all right, I'll get to it, but I gotta go to work, so I'm gonna drive the car as it is.
Yes.
and then get to it.
Yeah, and I mean, even in this time, you have to be very vigilant. There are a lot of accidents happening on the road now in the western side. When I went to Montego Bay and Westmoreland, because my family's from down that side, it was like an obstacle course. You had to be driving around trees very slow. Trees fall down in the corners. You know, accidents are happening a lot, so you have to be very mindful of liability during this period. And you also want to ensure that you have coverage in the event that something catastrophic happens, like this storm, or you have an accident, you're covered. You don't want to be sued for things you can't
just
afford.
Unaware of. One of the things I know we were warning people about is not to drive in water.
Right.
Because you would have no idea if the road that you know is still there, or if there's a hole in the road or something. So just be very careful and very cautious. How can we be better prepared, both legally and financially, for the next big weather event? Heaven forbid. Yeah. But how do we prepare?
Good, very good question. In terms of property damage to homes and so forth, it's very important to get insurance or coverage of the home. What I've found, just interacting with a lot of people, especially at the western side of Jamaica, you know, these people work hard, they save their money all their life, and they build their house. Some of them build it over time through cash, so they don't take a mortgage. When you take a mortgage, you're duty bound by the bank to take out a policy of insurance, because the bank is going to de-risk all transactions, and they're going to want to cover themselves and protect their interests if they're going to loan you this money to buy a home.
NHT does it as well.
Precisely. But individuals, they're not so well to do and have as much resources as banks. And if banks think it's sensible to essentially force you to take this insurance policy out, there's a rationale behind it. So you have to start thinking like the bank, right? So majority of them that don't have a mortgage, they have their titles free and clear, they don't have home insurance. So in a time like this, they don't have coverage, and they're literally going to be put out of pocket millions of dollars because of this lack of insurance. So for preparedness, whether or not you have a mortgage, one should look into insuring their properties to protect them personally.
Very important. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, learned a lot this morning, and I hope what we've learned, guys, we are going to put into action. Attorney at law Abel Donfoot of Able Attorneys. The second edition of News in 5 is up next.